Welcome to Cosmic Eternity Channel. There's a truth that rarely gets spoken out loud, a quiet reality that lingers in the hearts of those who carry a divine calling. Many believe that answering the call means glory, purpose, and strength. But few talk about the hidden side, the silent weight that grows heavier with time, pressing against the soul of the chosen until the light inside begins to dim. I once sat across from someone deeply used by God, a person everyone admired for their faith, discipline, and devotion. Yet when our eyes met, I didn't see strength. I saw exhaustion. With a trembling voice, they said, "People come to me for prayer, but no one ever asks if I need one. I carry everyone's pain, but I don't even know what to do with my own anymore." That moment never left me. It made me wonder, can a calling itself become the very thing that breaks the called? Not because the purpose is wrong, but because of the loneliness that often accompanies it. Because of the endless expectation to be strong when your soul is falling apart in silence. Being chosen was never meant to be about gifts, visions, or spiritual authority alone. It is an act of endurance, the ability to keep standing when your spirit trembles, to resist the weight of always being the strong one, to keep going even when no one sees how much it costs. Many are walking around today anointed but weary. Their hearts are tired, their minds clouded, their faith shaking quietly beneath the surface. The calling remains, but the vessel feels empty. It's not the mission that destroys, it's trying to carry it without rest, without support, without the grace to simply be human. If you've been feeling worn out, remember, this exhaustion doesn't make you weak. Pain doesn't make you less chosen. You weren't called to be crushed under the very purpose you were born to fulfill. Stay with me, because this message is about breaking that silent trap and finding your way back to peace. Maybe you've been there, surrounded by people but feeling unseen. You laugh, you talk, you serve, but inside you're fading. It's as if something within has quietly shut down. That invisible disconnection is dangerous. It isolates the chosen until they start disappearing behind their own smile. This isn't the kind of silence that heals. It's the silence that suffocates. It grows from the belief that no one could ever understand what you carry. The pain feels too specific, too sacred to put into words, so you stop trying. You shrink inward, pretending you're fine, while your spirit cries for air. Many with a deep purpose go through this. What begins as solitude for reflection turns into isolation that imprisons. The place that once felt like refuge becomes exile. Slowly, the heart hardens and hope feels distant. The mind joins in, whispering lies. No one sees you. No one cares, and before you realize it, the strength that once fueled you becomes a burden you can no longer bear. That's the trap, believing you must endure everything alone, thinking vulnerability equals weakness. But that's not truth. What truly destroys the chosen isn't the process itself, it's the silence, the fear of being seen as human, the pressure to always be fine. It's the belief that acknowledging your pain somehow disqualifies you from your purpose. If this feels familiar, please know you were never meant to walk alone. You can have faith, vision, and spiritual depth, but you're still human. And humanity needs connection, understanding, and care. If you can, speak today. Tell someone a small piece of your truth. Let light back in through the cracks of silence. You were called not only to resist, but also to live. Life isn't only about your mission, it's in the pauses, in the breaths, in the honest conversations. It's in allowing yourself to be seen. That's where the weight begins to lift. There's another subtle danger for those with a calling: comparison. You're walking in peace, steady in your lane, and suddenly a scroll through social media steals it all. Someone seems ahead, more blessed, more recognized. You didn't plan to feel envy, but it sneaks in anyway. Few things erode the soul like comparison. It starts quietly, with innocent questions. Am I behind? Am I doing enough? and before long you begin to measure your worth by someone else's timeline. But if you were chosen for something unique, you'll never fit into ordinary patterns. Still, we fall into the trap of using another's journey as a measuring stick for our own. That's when peace starts to fade. The heart fills with pressure, and the mind becomes restless. Suddenly, you feel like you're always late, always lacking, always small. You forget how far you've come, how much you've overcome, how deeply you've been shaped. God's timing may not be fast, but it is precise. Rushing to match another's pace only distances you from your own destiny. Comparison breeds frustration. Frustration turns into fatigue, and fatigue gives birth to apathy. Before long, the fire that once burned brightly turns into cold ash. That's how many chosen ones fall not all at once, but gradually, until they no longer recognize their own light. But you were never chosen to compete, you were chosen to complete, to fulfill your assignment in your own divine rhythm. Visibility doesn't equal purpose. Applause doesn't equal value. What sustains your spirit is faithfulness, not fame. So pause, breathe, come back to center. Your timing is sacred. Your path is yours alone. Don't look sideways, look inward. What's meant for you cannot be lived by anyone else. There's one more danger: losing discernment. In the beginning, everything was clear. You could sense God's voice easily, separate what was divine from what was distraction. But as time passed, the noise grew louder, opportunities multiplied, and slowly your intuition faded into the background. Haste replaced wisdom, pressure became guidance, and discernment slipped away. But remember, not every open door is divine, not every compliment is confirmation, not every opportunity is purpose. What glitters isn't always gold, what looks good isn't always from God. In my opinion, this message speaks to one of the deepest truths about purpose and calling. Too often, people romanticize being chosen as if it were only about strength, anointing, or success. But the reality is much heavier. Many who carry a calling also carry a silent suffering that few understand: the exhaustion, the loneliness, the pressure to stay strong when their soul is breaking. I believe that the true test of a calling is not how much you can do for others, but how willing you are to remain human in the process, to rest, to feel, to ask for help. We were never meant to walk this path alone. The idea that the chosen must be unshakable is a dangerous lie that isolates and destroys countless people who are simply trying to obey what God placed in their hearts. For me, the message is clear. Strength without vulnerability is not strength at all. The calling is sacred, but so are the person carrying it. Learning to honor both is what keeps the flame alive. It's easy to lose your way when you're starving for direction. You start saying yes to anything that looks like progress, even if it costs your peace or your identity. That's where discernment becomes everything. It's what separates those who are called from those who are merely busy. When discernment fades, you begin to wear identities that don't fit you. You walk roads that were never meant for your feet. The discomfort grows until one day you finally realize, this isn't what I was called to do. That's when it's time to stop, to quiet the noise, to listen again to that still inner voice that once guided you out of the storm. Choose carefully, because a chosen one without discernment becomes a prisoner of other people's expectations. You weren't chosen to please others, you were chosen to fulfill purpose. And fulfilling purpose demands courage, clarity, and the wisdom to know when to pause. Another silent killer of those with a calling is busyness disguised as purpose. You wake up early, answer everyone, meet every need, serve, deliver, fix, help. By nightfall, your hands are full of achievements, but your heart feels empty. Somewhere along the way, you confused productivity with presence. You thought that constantly doing meant you were spiritually alive. But it doesn't. Endless activity drains the soul. You can have a full calendar and an empty spirit at the same time. The world will celebrate you for your work. They'll thank you, praise you, admire your dedication. But while they applaud, your own soul whispers, "And what about me?" You can lose yourself doing good if you forget to be nourished in the process. You might still speak about faith, but no longer feel it. You teach about rest, but never take it. That's why so many chosen ones are exhausted, not from lack of belief, but from overextension. Religious activism drains, even the good, when taken too far, can wound. So stop, breathe, reorganize, allow yourself to rest. Saying, "Today I need to take care of myself," is not selfishness, it's maturity. Because an empty soul cannot sustain a sacred calling. A servant who never refills eventually collapses, and when you break, the mission breaks with you. In the beginning it was pure. You simply wanted to obey. But time brought recognition, and recognition quietly birthed pride. Not the loud, arrogant kind, but the subtle one that whispers, "You're too special to fail." Spiritual pride is deceptive. It hides inside good intentions. It convinces you that you already know enough, that you no longer need correction or counsel. And that's how the heart slowly drifts away from its source. You still talk about God, but you don't feel His nearness. You still move in your purpose, but out of habit, not intimacy. And without realizing it, humility fades. Grace begins to dry up. On the outside, everything looks fine, but inside your heart is cold. You've lost sensitivity. That's why so many are in constant motion, yet completely stagnant within. The higher you rise, the smaller you must remain in spirit. Never forget where you came from or who called your name. If pride has crept in, don't condemn yourself, just recognize it. Go back to the beginning, because those who forget their caller eventually lose themselves in their own success. And maybe that's the greatest tragedy for the chosen, not the enemy, not the burden, but the slow forgetting of who they truly are. Remember your essence. Remember why you said yes. Being chosen is not a forced destiny. It's a journey back home, back to your center, back to the place where purpose meets peace. It's there, in that quiet return to yourself, that strength is reborn and clarity returns. From my spiritual perspective, I believe this message is a reminder that divine purpose is never about constant doing. It's about constant becoming. The true calling doesn't demand exhaustion. It invites alignment. It teaches us to walk with awareness, not to run with fear of falling behind. I've come to understand that discernment, humility, and rest are not signs of weakness. They are the pillars that sustain a genuine relationship with God. When we lose touch with our essence, even holy work can become hollow. But when we return to the quiet place within, everything sacred becomes alive again. For me, this journey is not about perfection or recognition. It's about authenticity. It's about remembering that being chosen is not a title, it's a daily surrender. The moment we reconnect with the source, the noise fades, the pride dissolves, and peace returns. That's where true strength begins.